Hello, and thank you for joining. Today's topic is going to be Office 365 Excel, and we're going to review how to find the future value of investment. So if you have a target, either retirement or a savings target, I'm going to show you how to calculate that. Now, one key thing to note is we're going to look at a steady annual investment return that you'd receive on your money. Whereas in the real world, if you're invested in the stock market, you're going to have variable rates depending on some years will be up, some years will be down, and so forth. So I'm going to come back and do a second video on how to calculate this with a variety of interest rates or variable interest rates. But this one's going to be pretty straightforward. What I've done here is I've created some titles: years to save, investment return percentage, annual, what type of return are you going to get on your money, what's the starting value in dollars, what's your annual deposit and investment, and then what's the future value. So what I want to do here first is I want to change the formatting of this annual percentage return on your money, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to go under the Home tab, under the number, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the slanted arrow here, open up that number, and I'm going to change it to percentage, and I'm going to leave it at 2 decimal places. I'm going to go down to starting value dollars, annual deposit / investment, and future value, and I'm going to change that to a currency. Rather than going in this format method here, I'm just going to right click this time. I'm going to go down and choose format cells, and it's going to bring up that same exact menu. Okay, but this time I'm going to change it to currency, and then I'm going to leave the default, which is 2 decimal places in the dollar symbol. So then I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to start filling in these values. So what I want to do is I want to say, we're going to go ahead and say we have 20 years to save, and we have a annual return of 6%, let's say. I'm going to put 6.0. And then the starting value in dollars, let's assume we have $10,000. And then we can deposit, let's say, $3,000 per year. And then what we want to do now, based on all these variables, we want to calculate the future value. How we do that is we use the future value function or formula within Excel. And you can access that one of 2 ways. You can go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and show you by going under the formulas menu here. I'm going to go to financial. I'm going to scroll down for future value, or in this case, it's summarized to FV. And you'll get this nice menu here, right, which makes it easy to fill in. So what I'm going to do is in these fields, I'm going to reference the cells where I've input this data. So they want to know what's our return, what's our investment return. We're going to say we get 6%, and that's per year, annual. The number of periods, we're going to say it's 20 years, so we're going to reference cell B1. And then the payment would be the annual deposit / investment, which would be this cell B4. And the present value is, what do we have right now? We're going to say we already have $10,000 to start, so we'll put in $10,000. And then there's a type here, okay? I'm going to leave this blank and let it default. It's basically the payment that you're making. So in other words, the annual deposit, are you making it at the beginning of the year or the end of the year? We're going to assume in this example that it's the end of the year, and I'm going to leave it at 0 or leave nothing there, which will default to 0. And I'm going to say okay. And you'll see it'll come up, and you'll notice one unique thing. It shows as a negative here. But what I want to do in order to make it more user-friendly, I'm going to flip that to a positive number. I'm going to say negative, and I can do that. I can highlight the cell. I'll see the formula up here in the function bar, and I will go ahead and put a negative symbol or a dash in front of the FV formula, and I'm going to hit return, and you see it displayed as a positive number. So what this will let you do is, based on what investment return you think you can achieve, in this case 6%, you can go in and play with the numbers here and see what your desired goal is. Maybe you're saving for a car, or saving for a house style payment, or retirement, or whatever it may be. you can go in and experiment with these values. Okay. You don't need, and I'll show you an example here. Let's go ahead. Let's assume, so that's worth $142,000 and $142,428.13 20 years from now. Let's assume you could get 7% interest. You'll see it'll jump up quite a bit, right? And if you could get, probably not realistic, but let's assume you got 15%, you could get you'd be at $470,000 after 20 years. So you can tweak these numbers to see what you think is realistic and as far as returns. In the real world, if you're investing and other than say money markets or CDs, you're going to get variable rates of return. So I'm going to come back and do another video about how to calculate that. And of course, it'll just be based on assumptions, based on historical numbers as an example. One other thing I wanted to share with you is you don't need to fill out, a table like this. If you would like to, you can just go out here and, for example, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do equals negative FV. I'm going to open parentheses, and you'll see it'll prompt me for the values. So in this case, I'm going to mimic what we have here, but rather than referencing the cells, I'm going to manually put in the numbers. So in this case, the rate would be the investment return. So we're going to assume 0.4 or 4%. By the way, up here it's 4.0, but that's because I have it formatted as a percentage. If you're just putting in pure numbers, it's going to be 4% would be 0.04, or 6% would be 0.06, and so forth. So then I'm going to do a comma, and you'll see it'll move me to the next value in the formula, which will be number of periods, and I'll say 20. Then we'll do comma, and then you'll see it'll prompt me for the payment. So let's assume we're going to put in $3,000, and then comma, present value, I'll say $10,000. And then the type, I'm going to go ahead and just leave blank. It's going to default to 0, and I'll put in to 0, but it would default to that anyways. And it should come out to the same exact value, which you see it does. So you can do that either way that you prefer. And that's what I want to share with you today. So thank you for joining. And if you're interested in additional Excel content and other Microsoft Office 365 applications and other future technology content, please subscribe. And thanks for joining, and have a great day. Take care.